Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aisha and you're watching SAMAA News. Here are today's headlines. US President Donald Trump has said there is no final deadline for ending the war with Iran, pushing back on suggestions that political pressure or the approaching midterm elections are shaping his decisions. He also made clear that the US is in no hurry over the ceasefire or fresh negotiations, as Washington keeps up its naval blockade on Iran. Speaking in an interview, Trump also rejected the impression that he wanted to wrap up the war quickly because of domestic political considerations. He stressed that the goal was not speed, but securing what he called a better agreement for the American people. On the other hand, US Navy Secretary John Phelan has been fired in another wartime shake-up at the Pentagon, coming just weeks after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ousted the Army's top general. The Pentagon announced his departure in a brief statement, saying he was leaving the administration effective immediately, but it did not provide a reason or say whether it was his decision to go. Sources said Phelan was dismissed in part because he was moving too slow to implement reforms to speed shipbuilding and because he had fallen out with key Pentagon leadership. The US military has intercepted at least 3 Iranian-flagged tankers in Asian waters and is redirecting them away from their positions near India, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. One of the vessels was the Iranian-flagged deep-sea supertanker, which was part-loaded with crude and last seen on its public tracking transponder off Malaysia's coast a week ago. The smaller Iranian-flagged Sevin, which had a maximum capacity of 1 million barrels and was carrying 65% of its load, was also intercepted. The Iranian-flagged supertanker Dorina was also intercepted, fully loaded with 2 million barrels of crude.
Also, Iran's Revolutionary Guards Navy has seized 2 vessels, identified as the MSC Francesca and Epaminondas, for alleged maritime violations. According to Iranian authorities, the ships were operating without proper authorization and were accused of manipulating navigation systems, actions they said posed risks to maritime safety. The vessels have been transferred to Iranian shores as investigations proceed. President Donald Trump has signaled that good news on a second round of talks with Iran could emerge as soon as Friday, as progress continues behind the scenes. According to reports, renewed diplomatic efforts could lead to talks within the next 36 to 72 hours, as Pakistan continues mediation with Tehran. Trump says the recently extended ceasefire will remain in place until Iran presents a unified proposal and negotiations move forward. He added that the US military will also maintain its blockade posture while staying prepared for any outcome. Iran says it will decide on negotiations with the United States based on appropriate conditions. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai has said that diplomacy remains an option, but only if it protects national interests. He acknowledged Pakistan's mediation efforts, while insisting Iran is acting in self-defense and remains on high alert. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has said that US actions are blocking meaningful negotiations, as he accused Washington of contradictions. In a social media post, he said that blockade and threats undermine trust and are the main obstacles to genuine negotiation. Meanwhile, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf says a full ceasefire cannot hold while the US blockade remains in place. In a social media post, he said that reopening the Strait of Hormuz is impossible under what he called a clear violation of the ceasefire. Accusing the US of taking the global economy hostage, Kalibaf said the invading forces could not achieve their objectives through military aggression and would not achieve them through threats either. Separately, Chairman of Iran's Parliament National Security and Foreign Relations Commission, Ibrahim Azizi, criticized the perceived violations and unfulfilled commitments from the United States and said that Tehran did not request a ceasefire. Talking to a news channel, he said that de-escalation would only happen if Tehran's conditions were met. Meanwhile, Iran has showcased its Khorramshahr 4 missile in Tehran's Revolution Square, signaling military capability as uncertainty grows over renewed talks with the United States. The missile has been described as a medium to long-range system capable of reaching up to 2,000 kilometers and carrying a heavy payload.
That's all for now. For more updates, visit www.SAMAA TV. Thank you for watching SAMAA News.